Real Haunted Roads, 3 true horror stories of late-night encounters. Before you hit the road tonight, think twice about where you're driving. Because some roads don't just take you somewhere. They take something from you. Every year, drivers vanish, engines die, and headlights catch things that shouldn't exist. So if you're brave enough, hit that subscribe button, turn on your headlights, and come with me. We're driving into darkness to uncover 3 real haunted roads and the late-night encounters that still haunt the living. Clinton Road, New Jersey. The locals in West Milford never drive Clinton Road after midnight. They talk about it the same way people talk about cursed places. Low voices, nervous laughs, always followed by a warning. 18 miles of cracked asphalt cutting through a forest so dense it seems to swallow sound. No streetlights. No cell service. Just the dark and the things that wait inside it. It's said that somewhere near the bridge over Dead Man's Curve, if you throw a coin into the water, a child's hand will toss it back. Some say it's the ghost of a boy who drowned decades ago. Others say the water reflects something that isn't your face. For most people, those stories are enough to keep them away. But not for Michael Tanner. He wasn't from New Jersey. He was a traveler, a photographer who chased abandoned places, always chasing the thrill of the real haunted. In early October, he drove from Pennsylvania into West Milford, intent on capturing Clinton Road under moonlight. He told himself he didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in stories and how people loved to scare themselves. By 12:03 a.m., his black Jeep rolled past the sign that read Clinton Road. The forest seemed alive around him, whispering, breathing, moving. His high beams cut through the mist, but the road ahead was nothing but gray and shadow. He stopped near the old bridge, stepped out, camera in hand. The silence was suffocating. No crickets, no wind, just the faint hiss of his car's cooling engine. He walked to the edge, aimed the camera toward the water, and snapped the first shot. Something reflected in the lens, faint, pale, human-shaped. He blinked, looked up, and saw nothing. The forest didn't move. The mist didn't break. He laughed under his breath, the sound oddly small. Then he tossed a quarter into the water. He waited. Nothing. He turned back to the Jeep, muttering that legends were just stories for bored teenagers. But the moment he opened the car door, something pinged behind him. He looked down. The same quarter lay on the asphalt beside his boot. The air shifted, colder, heavier. Something brushed past his arm. He snapped around, flashlight cutting through the trees. A figure stood near the guardrail. The shape of a boy, head tilted slightly, one arm hanging limply by his side. No sound, no breath. Just eyes, black and endless, reflecting the beam. Michael froze. The beam trembled in his hand. Then, without warning, the boy stepped forward, once, twice, and vanished as if swallowed by the air itself. Michael stumbled back into the Jeep, slammed the door, and twisted the key. The engine didn't start. He tried again. Nothing but a choking click. His phone had no signal. Panic rose sharp and metallic in his throat. Outside, footsteps moved around the vehicle. Slow, deliberate, circling. Then, a handprint smeared across the driver's window, small and wet. It dragged down the glass, leaving a streak that shimmered like something alive. Michael grabbed his camera, flipped through the photos he'd taken. The last image, the one before the coin toss, had changed. Behind him, in the photo, the boy stood closer. Behind the boy, deeper in the mist, dozens of faint silhouettes filled the woods. Men, women, shapes half seen watching. His breath came ragged. He didn't look up. He didn't dare. When the engine finally roared to life, he slammed the gear and sped down the twisting road. Branches scraped the sides. Headlights flickered. He didn't look in the mirror. He didn't need to, because he could feel them, pressed close, crowding behind the glass, staring. When he burst out of the forest and hit the main highway, the world seemed to breathe again. He drove until dawn before pulling into a gas station. The attendant asked if he was okay. Michael didn't answer. He just stumbled to the restroom, splashed his face with water, and stared into the mirror. That's when he saw it. A small, wet handprint, pressed into the back of his jacket. He threw the jacket away before he left. But when he uploaded his photos later that night, every file from Clinton Road was corrupted. Except one. It was black. But if you adjusted the brightness, faint outlines appeared. Rows of faces. Dozens. And right in the middle, a child's hand reaching toward the lens. Locals still say you can hear Michael's Jeep on the road some nights, headlights flickering through the trees before vanishing into the mist. No one knows what he saw before he fled. But those who drive Clinton Road at midnight swear the air changes, colder, heavier, just before the sound of small footsteps on wet asphalt. And if you drop a coin into the water, don't wait for it to come back, because it always does. The A75 Kinmont Straight, Scotland. Scotland's A75 is known among locals as the Ghost Road. A lonely stretch of highway that runs through Dumfries and Galloway, a corridor of fog, ancient woodland, and centuries of whispered fear. Truckers hate driving it at night. Farmers avoid it after dusk. And those who've broken down there tell stories no one believes, until it happens to them. The haunting of the A75 isn't tied to one legend. It's a collection of them. An endless series of pale figures, phantom carriages, vanishing animals, and shadowed faces in the mirrors. No one can explain it, and no one stays long enough to try. In late November 2019, two brothers, Craig and Alan Morrison, were hauling cargo through Dumfries, bound for Stranraer. It was raining, cold enough that the windshield froze around the edges. The road was empty. Their dashboard clock read 2:17 a.m. when they entered the Kinmont Straight, a 10-mile stretch notorious among drivers for sightings that make grown men quit their routes forever. The radio had died an hour ago. Static hissed faintly through the speakers, filling the silence. Craig, the older brother, kept his hands tight on the wheel. Alan scrolled aimlessly through his phone, half asleep. That's when the fog rolled in. The headlights caught it like smoke, swirling, shifting, almost alive. Craig slowed the truck. Visibility dropped to nothing. And then, out of nowhere, a figure appeared in the middle of the road. He slammed the brakes. The tires screamed. The trailer fishtailed behind them, and for a split second, Craig saw it clearly. A woman. Long dark dress, head tilted downward, arms limp by her sides. Her skin was gray, like wax. The impact never came. The woman didn't move. She just vanished. The truck came to a halt. Both brothers sat in silence, hearts pounding. Alan looked at his brother, eyes wide. There had been no thud. No body. Nothing. Craig climbed out, flashlight in hand, and stepped into the cold. The fog swallowed everything. He walked around the front of the truck. No damage, no blood, no trace of anything. But when he turned back toward the driver's side, something stood by the trailer's edge. A man. Thin, drenched, staring. Eyes hollow, mouth open as if mid-scream, but there was no sound. Craig's flashlight flickered once and went dead. He backed away slowly, heart hammering, until he reached the door and climbed in. When he shut it, Alan was staring at him, not in fear, but confusion. Because from Alan's perspective, his brother had been gone for 10 minutes. The fog thinned, just enough to move. They kept driving. Neither spoke. For the next 3 miles, the air inside the truck grew colder. The windows fogged from the outside. And in the condensation, handprints began to appear, one by one, like something was touching the glass from the other side. Alan wiped the passenger window, but the prints came back, smaller this time, like a child's. Then came a sound from behind the seats. A slow, dragging scrape. Metal on metal. Craig glanced at the side mirror and froze. Something was walking beside the truck. Not running, walking. Pale, gaunt, keeping perfect pace at 40 miles an hour. Its head twisted upward, staring through the window, lips moving soundlessly. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, it broke apart like smoke and was gone. When they reached the end of Kinmont Straight, the fog cleared, the air warmed, and everything felt normal. Too normal. Neither spoke until they pulled into a rest stop 20 minutes later. Alan stepped out to smoke, hands shaking. He leaned against the truck, looked down, and dropped his cigarette. The trailer's side was covered in muddy handprints, hundreds of them. Some large, some small, smudged in streaks, as if dozens of people had clung to it, clawing to hold on. They left the truck there, called the company, told them it had broken down. Neither man ever returned to that route again. When the recovery team arrived the next morning, they found the truck's cab doors unlocked. Inside, both seats were soaked, as though someone had poured water across them. And on the inside of the windshield, written in the fog, were 3 words: "Still walking here." Locals say the Kinmont Straight crosses land once used as an ancient burial ground, older than the churches, older than the towns themselves. Some claim the road wasn't built through it, but over it. Whatever truth lies beneath the asphalt, one thing's certain: drivers still see them, faces in the fog, reaching for the living, still trying to make it home. If you ever find yourself alone on the A75 at night and the mist begins to rise, keep your eyes forward. Never slow down, because the moment you stop, they notice. Ortega Highway, California. Locals call it the Ortega Highway, a twisting ribbon of asphalt cutting through the mountains of Southern California. By day, it's scenic. By night, it's a death trap. The road has claimed hundreds of lives, sharp turns, blind drops, and drivers who never make it to the other side. But the crashes aren't what scare people most. It's what comes after. There are stories, whispered between bikers, cops, and late-night truckers. Stories of a woman in white, standing by the roadside just past mile marker 13. If you pass her and look in the mirror, she's already gone. If you stop, she isn't. In the summer of 2021, a rideshare driver named Daniel Ruiz took a late call from Lake Elsinore to San Juan Capistrano, a route that cuts directly through Ortega Highway. He'd done the drive before, hundreds of times. But never this late. Never at 2:40 a.m. The night was heavy with mist. The mountains pressed close, swallowing his headlights in dark folds of fog. He wasn't thinking about ghosts. He was thinking about the 5-star rating that meant one more bonus from the app. The request came from an unregistered number, a pin dropped right at the edge of the old rest stop, long abandoned since the fires years ago. The profile photo was blank. The pickup name read only Maria. He hesitated but accepted. He figured it was just someone stranded, maybe lost. When he pulled into the lot, the mist thickened like smoke. He turned his brights on and saw her. A woman standing at the edge of the road. Long black hair, white dress that fluttered though there was no wind. Head bowed, face hidden. Daniel called out, but his voice seemed to vanish into the fog. The woman didn't move. He leaned over and unlocked the door. She got in silently, didn't speak, didn't type a destination, just sat there, hands folded neatly on her lap. He noticed her skin, pale, almost translucent, like paper soaked in moonlight. He cleared his throat, asked where she was headed. No response. He checked his phone. The app had glitched, no map, no GPS, no timer. Only one line of text where the address should be. Keep driving. He laughed nervously, thinking it was a prank. But the car filled with a smell, faint at first, then stronger. Wet earth, burned rubber, and beneath it, something metallic. The woman turned her head slowly toward the window. Daniel followed her gaze and saw headlights behind them. A car, old, maybe 70s. Moving fast. No license plate, just blinding beams and the roar of an engine. It swerved dangerously close, then backed off. Then again closer, ramming distance now. Daniel gripped the wheel. Okay, we're being tailed, he muttered under his breath, pressing the gas harder. But every time he sped up, the car behind him matched his pace. He flicked his high beams, nothing changed. The road twisted sharply, the other car vanished behind a curve. He exhaled shakily, eyes flicking to the mirror. The woman was gone. The passenger's seat was empty. He jerked the wheel, the car swerved slightly. Heart pounding, he scanned the road, nothing. No figure, no lights, only fog. Then, a voice. Soft, close, whispering from the back seat. Turn. No one. But the seatbelt buckle was fastened, and there was an indentation in the leather, as if someone were still sitting there. The smell returned, stronger now. The metallic tang of blood. The vents began to hiss, blowing cold air though the heater was off. something dripped onto his hand from above. He looked up and saw a faint streak of red tracing down the inside of the windshield. He slammed the brakes. The car skidded to a stop at the next curve, tires screaming against the asphalt. When he stumbled out, gasping, the night was silent again. No car behind him. No headlights. Just fog. The air felt wrong, heavy, as though the mountain itself was watching. He opened the passenger door. Empty. But on the seat lay a single wilted white rose, wet, streaked with something dark. When he picked it up, his hand came away sticky. Back inside, his phone buzzed violently. The rideshare app reopened itself. A message flashed across the screen. Ride complete. He stared at it. Underneath, the screen displayed a payment receipt. Under passenger name, Maria Ortega. Daniel froze. He knew that name. Years ago, before the fires, a woman named Maria Ortega had died on this very road, a head-on collision after her car broke down in the curve. Locals said she was trying to flag someone down for help. No one stopped. The legend said she still waited. He drove the rest of the way in silence. Didn't look in the mirror. Didn't stop until he reached home. But when he got there, the app was still open, the ride timer frozen. The screen read, "Passenger still in transit." That night, Daniel deleted the app, sold his car, and swore never to drive again. Weeks later, the car's new owner reported strange activity. The GPS kept rerouting itself, always leading back to the Ortega Highway. And on misty nights, when the road bends between mile markers 13 and 14, some drivers say they still see the faint glow of brake lights just ahead. A black car that never seems to move. And beside it, a woman in white, standing still. Her head bowed, waiting. If you ever drive Ortega Highway at night, and your headlights catch someone waving for help, keep driving, because the next time you check your back seat, you might not be alone. If you've made it this far, you've survived the drive. But remember, every road has its ghosts. Maybe you've passed one before, without even knowing. So before you hit the highway again, ask yourself, what if someone's still following you home? If these stories made you double-check your mirrors tonight, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. So the next person who drives alone in the dark knows what's waiting in the rearview. Sleep well, if you can, because somewhere out there, the road is still open.